Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. In the hierarchy of cosmic threats, most villains are small. They want money, power, or revenge. But sometimes the threat is purely biological, a force of nature that doesn't even know it's a killer. In the Helios system, the sun is dying. Not from old age but from a parasite. A creature known as a stellar devourer, a massive being of pure energy that feeds on the hydrogen of active stars, has attached itself to the solar corona. To the creature, the star is a feast. To the 3 inhabited planets in the system, the creature is an executioner. Its feeding process causes massive, unpredictable solar flares that are stripping away the atmospheres of the colonies below. The hegemony sent a fleet of frigates to destroy it with missiles, but the heat of the star melted their warheads before they could even get close. They realized that you cannot fight a fire god with fire. They needed someone who could get close enough to touch the sun. They needed Silas Vane. The contract was the most dangerous in his career. Move the entity. The scientists had identified a nearby brown dwarf, a dead star, that could serve as a new feeding ground. But someone had to lead the beast there. Someone had to act as bait. Silas Vane didn't hesitate. Not because he was brave but because he saw this sun-eater for what it was, a hungry animal. He didn't want to see a unique species extinguished because of a tragic proximity to humanity. To survive the solar corona, Vane had to upgrade the Vesper. He coated the hull in a liquid mirror alloy that reflected the blinding light of the star. He replaced his suit with a solar-plated shroud, a gleaming gold mirror weave that could withstand the million-degree heat for exactly 10 minutes. But as he stepped into the cockpit, his face remained hidden behind the same obsidian mask and tattered black hood. It was a reminder of who he was, even in the heart of a god. Vane dove the Vesper into the outer layers of the sun. The cockpit turned a violent, blinding white. Even with his visor dimmed to 99% opacity, the light was overwhelming. The ship groaned, the magnetic field struggling to keep the solar plasma from touching the hull. He found the entity. It was beautiful, a translucent, whale-like being nearly 5 kilometers long, coiling through the solar prominences like a phantom. It was beautiful and it was devastating. Every time it flicked its energy tail, a massive arc of fire shot out into space, headed for the colonies. Vane didn't fire. He deployed the lure, a concentrated pulse of high-density hydrogen isotopes designed to mimic the tastiest parts of a young star. The Sun-Eater sensed the pulse. It turned its massive, glowing head toward the Vesper. To the creature, Vane's ship was just a tiny, shimmering insect carrying a delicious snack. It let out a roar of pure electromagnetic energy that fried Vane's long-range comms instantly. "Come on, big girl," Vane whispered, his voice dry in the intense heat of the cabin. "Follow the light." Vane engaged the thrusters. He had to lead the creature out of the star's gravity well. It was a high-stakes game of chicken with a being that weighed more than a moon. The Sun-Eater lunged, its energy tendrils grazing the Vesper's shields. The heat inside the cockpit spiked to 60 degrees. Vane's sweat evaporated before it could hit his suit. He pushed the engines to the breaking point. The ship was vibrating so hard the monitors were blurring. He was leading the creature toward the jump point, the brown dwarf star waiting on the other side. Suddenly, the star behind them erupted. A massive coronal mass ejection, 1 billion tons of plasma, shot out of the sun, triggered by the creature's sudden movement. The wave of fire was moving at 3 million miles per hour. It was going to consume the Vesper and the entity. Vane didn't panic. He entered the hunter's flow. He didn't try to outrun the wave. He turned the ship, using the Vesper's magnetic grappling hooks to latch onto a piece of the entity's solidified energy field. He used the creature as a shield. The solar flare hit. The entity absorbed the brunt of the impact, its massive energy body glowing with a blinding intensity. The Vesper was tossed like a leaf in a hurricane, but it survived. In the chaos, the entity was dazed. Vane didn't leave it. He used the last of his ship's power to push the lure signal toward the jump point. The creature, seeking the hydrogen and confused by the flare, followed. They punched through the slipspace gate together. On the other side, the brown dwarf waited. A cold, dark star with plenty of fuel and no people to kill. The Sun-Eater drifted toward the new sun, satisfied. It latched onto the surface, its glow softening as it began to feed in peace. Vane sat in his cockpit, his systems failing, his ship a scorched, silver wreck. He was drifting in the dark, miles from any rescue. He pulled back his hood and looked at the distant, safe sun he had just left. "Contract complete," he wheezed. He was rescued 3 days later by a hegemony research vessel. They hailed him as a hero. They offered him a fleet of ships and a title. Silas Vane refused it all. He took his payment, repaired the Vesper, and replaced his mirrored suit with his old, matte black charcoal gear. He put his tattered hood back on and slid the obsidian mask over his face. In the legends of the Helios system, they say the hunter was the man who tamed the sun. They say Silas Vane is the one who can talk to the gods and walk away with his soul. But Vane knows the truth. He is just a hunter who knows that every life, no matter how big or small, has a place in the dark. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. The stars are bright, but the hunter is the shadow. If you enjoyed the epic conclusion to this arc of Silas Vane, hit that like button. Comment below, what would you name a creature that eats stars? Subscribe for our next saga. The Vesper is back in the dark. The hunt continues.